I was struck by the idea that on a scale of 10, the highest President Trump was what, 5.5?
5.7 now.
5.7 now.
That's right, yeah.
And all of the others were below 5. How does that compare, if you can remember?
We haven't had this question before, before the Trump presidency. I guess we had the Obama presidency. He was below 5 for a while there. So they don't like the tariffs. They haven't liked the tariffs from the get-go, and they have not cottoned to the president's methods for reaching a deal or the upside of reaching a deal. They have consistently. Here's another thing that I can tell you is that while they do see upside from the Phase 1 trade deal, they exactly take that off, or just about the same amount they subtract from GDP this year and next, because the tariffs remain in place.
Steve, if you study the chart, right, it doesn't look like a Republican-Democratic issue because you have Biden and Buttigieg and the other ones not that far behind Trump. Then there's this really steep drop-off between Warren and Sanders.
Right.
I mean, it's really steep. And so this idea that it's a social justice or social welfare issue is kind of off the table. It now becomes, do people think it's just too much socialism? Are they just going to spend too much? Because Biden's right there, not far behind Trump.
Not far, but with a 63% economic approval rating, which, by the way, is higher than the public at large, because, you know, we ask our All-America survey where we do ask the people that Kayla's talking about are more like those people. The president gets about a 50% economic approval rating, while his overall approval rating is 40%.
But I still want to know, why is it that Biden is so close?
I think because he's seen as a centrist, and I'm pretty sure that there is some exasperation out there. I think they like the tax cuts. They probably like the deregulation. I'm not sure they love the way the president is running the country or handling the country. And certainly there's a lot of disagreement. When we ask what the biggest threat is to the economic expansion of the United States, it has consistently been in the Trump presidency protectionist measures.
Can I ask you an interest rate question before we let you go?
I hope I have the answer.
Twice in the last 2 weeks, President Trump has teased negative rates, how much he likes them. China trade event a couple weeks ago in an interview on CNBC last week. A lot of people in Washington see that as brinksmanship, that he's trying to goad the Fed into, if not going negative, at least going lower. How do you think Chair Powell receives that?
I think it's a long answer, but I'll tell you this. I think that what the president says, in the absence of any political pushback, creates an atmosphere that the Fed is not immune from. I think that the Fed tries not to be political, but it also doesn't live in a vacuum. I think it's impossible, as much as the Fed may want to and aspire to, it cannot make decisions that are against where the political winds are blowing.
Sure they can.
Very, very easily.
Sure they can.
Very easily.
What prevents them from doing it?
Well, okay, if they had, what prevents them is the lack of evidence and support for doing so. For example, if you had high and rising inflation, there might be some form of a contingency for raising rates. But there is none now, not from the Democrats and not from the Republicans. Under President Obama, who didn't say anything about the Fed or said very little about the Fed, there was a strong contingency among Republicans for raising rates and having rates higher. That played a role in the Fed. Even while they kept rates down, it played a role. So I think the president is nudging the Fed towards where he wants them to be. He's not going to get negative rates, but perhaps he won't get, you know, a hike within a year or two.